Good evening friends, this capsule is mainly on indirect tax expectation from Union Budget 2018 which is supposed to be presented on 1st of February 2018. From indirect tax perspective, this is the first budget after GST implementation in India from 1st July 2017. So we all know mostly indirect taxes, central excise duty, service tax, number of surcharges and cess already subsumed in GST. So item left out in central excise are 5 specified petroleum product: petrol, diesel, crude petrol, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas along with tobacco. Now the question comes, we all are talking about whether these 5 specified petroleum product to be included in GST regime. Yes, we have heard of the GST Council. It's seriously thinking to include in GST regime, and rightly so, need to be done. So we would like to have clarity as expectation from Union Budget 2018 that inclusion of all these 5 specified product in GST regime. Unless it is being included, it is creating cascading in our supply chain. Whether you look at manufacturer or service provider, basic need is petroleum and diesel, sometimes natural gas, on which existing taxes like central excise, VAT for intrastate, CST for interstate applicable, of which no credit is available in GST regime, which is creating cascading and increasing prices of goods and services. So this is the first expectation from my side, that this need to be looked into. Secondly, we are finding that concessional rate of CST for procurement of these specified product for usage in manufacturing of goods, and goods are being covered in GST regime. So what happened? The concessional rate is not available. We have to pay higher taxes, of which no credit is available, creating more cascading, tax on tax even in GST regime. My second expectation would be from Union Budget 2018 would be, there were certain service provider who were supposed to pay service tax on collection basis, whose aggregate turnover was less than 50 lakh rupees. They have not paid the service tax in pre-GST era, but they have charged the service tax. Now they are collecting this money from the client. So first question is being asked by such service provider, are they supposed to pay service tax or GST when they are collecting the money in GST regime? To my perspective, as I read the law, this transaction was liable to service tax because being rendered prior to 1st July 2017. Only liability get postponed on collection basis. Service tax should have been paid on the same. Now question comes, if service tax to be paid, now what happened in the hands of recipient who has not made the payment to the service provider within 3 months? He has reversed the credit. Now provision, as we have seen under GST for transitional credit, if such payment are not being made within 3 months from date of invoice and subsequently is being made, but transitional credit again created a bar that such payments should have been made within 3 months from 1st July 2017. So what happened? If payment is being made after 3 months from introduction of GST of erstwhile service tax levy, what happened for the credit? Whether the recipient will not get the credit of the same. In that line, third point could be supply of manpower services was in the reverse charge method in pre-GST era. Now, reverse charge means recipient has to pay service tax liability, but you are not finding supply of manpower services in GST regime. So what happened? If I have received the invoices, supplier of manpower services of pre-GST era, and I'm making payment in GST regime, so POT or time of supply for reverse charge is date of payment, but supply of manpower is not under reverse charge notification in GST regime. Question comes, what happened when I'm making payment today, and which is time of supply what is applicable, service tax or GST? That kind of clarity need to be provided. Going down further, if we look at this Union Budget 2018, to me looks like it is mainly on custom duties. And custom duties, I am looking for the government would be doing certain tinkering with the reduction and rationalization of custom duty applicable on input which is required for manufacturing and to promote Make in India. Maybe we will find certain rate reduction for the components which is required for the usage in manufacturing of certain goods, or maybe there is some rate increase in custom duty rate for final product wherever we want to provide support to the domestic industry so that we can promote Make in India. Alongside, I would also be looking for drawback rate rationalization. We have seen drawback notification rate are being rationalized, but to certain extent it requires to look into that such drawback rate must compensate custom duty incidents in the hands of exporter of goods or services. Coming to the conclusion part, Union Budget 2018 from indirect tax perspective, what we look at that excise, service tax and most of the state levy has got subsumed, but real estate sector, real estate which is stamp duty and registration chargeable. So in GST we are talking about inclusion of real estate and 5 specified petroleum product may give some kind of breather for all of us together. From GST perspective, what all we are looking for, whether we can have some kind of announcement. I know that Centre is one of the party for GST in dual concurrent GST regime, wherein GST Council going to decide everything from GST perspective, but we may have some clarity down the line how we are heading in GST regime in terms of simplification of GST return, and we have heard of anti-evasion measure like eBay will is going to be effective from 1st of February 2018 for all interstate movement, and all intrastate movement going to be introduced not later than 1st June 2018 by all the state. These are the major prescribed as anti-evasion measure, but what we are expecting from Union Budget to see the ease of business coming to the trade, industry and commerce, that this GST provision must be aligned with the objective of good and simple tax and provide simplicity to the trade to see that we are getting ultimate benefit of GST. To conclude, my expectation from Union Budget 2018, though it is mainly focusing on custom duty, but there may be many open issues left out, which is transitional part from excise and service tax perspective may be looked into GST regime. This Union Budget 2018 must give certain focus, keeping in mind GST, and GST is a broad term revolution indirect tax introduced from 1st July 2017. We must find some clarity and certainty in terms of the provision, and those provisions must be configured in a manner required to be. So from GST perspective, lot of expectation, but Union Budget being a central budget, it will be focusing only on custom duty, but may provide certain guidelines how the Centre is heading for. Centre being a main party in GST, and since they are leading from GST perspective, must provide some guidelines like by when 5 petroleum products are going to be included in GST, when real estate is going to be included in GST regime, how they are going to avoid the cascading like construction of immovable property. Credit was not available in pre-GST, is not available in GST regime as well. Such kind of things can be done away in GST regime to provide that we are really moving in a positive direction and bringing improvement as we all are looking for in supply chain. As government is receptive and committed to provide ease of business, look forward we will get certain clarity and some roadmap for GST way forward to provide good and simple for all of us together. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.